Well guys, it's Memorial Day weekend and we're getting ready to head out on a little family getaway. We're headed to Amarillo. But before I get into any details about that, I would like to make a big announcement for everyone. Last year, me and Tyler Hoover, or Hoovie from Hoovie's Garage, we filmed with a professional film crew a reality show called Car Issues with Tyler Hoover. We spent a good part of 6 or 7, maybe a little bit longer months filming several episodes. And the good news is June 8th, which is this Saturday, on FYI channel, aired. They're going to see the light of day. It's amazing. If you guys are, some of you die-hard Wizard fans, you're going to get to see the Wizard on national TV, as well as Hoovie. Hoovie's the main character in this show, but you don't have to worry. The Wizard's in there a great deal of the time. Back to our road trip. All along the way to Amarillo, we're going to be filming Route 66 stops, whether it be a strip of the original road or sites or attractions or some of the original towns. There's even some ghost towns. So I guess the best thing we can do is get started. Here we go. Welcome back, guys, but not to the Wizard shop. Obviously, I'm not standing in the Wizard shop. I'm actually standing on some of the original alignment. We're kind of driving on a secondary alignment that's next to here, that's Route 66. But this is closed, as you can see through these bushes here. Road closed. You can't drive out here. But this is original Route 66 right here. It was actually made in 1926, and it went from Chicago all the way to Santa Monica, California. It was pretty much the original first highway. They call it the Mother Road. You got to think, this doesn't look like much of a highway, even if it was clean and new, but it sure was a lot better than driving through farmers' fields and going through basically the Oregon Trail to try to get to Grandma's house for Christmas. This was awesome when it came out. This was just like, it's smooth, I can drive, there's no mud, there's gas stations, all the way to where I want to go. Before this, if you wanted to get somewhere quickly and comfortably, you really had to take a train. There was air travel, but it was super expensive. So trains were the option, and you had a schedule to keep, and you had to be rushing to try to meet the times. This you could take leisurely on your own time and just go along. Just think about the Great Depression, all those Oklahoma Okies, they called them, that went out to California because they had literally nothing left. Their entire existence was gone. This is where they went, all the way to California, standing on the very roads that they took. So it's kind of cool. I thought you guys might want to follow along. As we go along, we're going to stop and do different little segments of different places we see, and I thought this would be a cool addition to the Car Wizard video library. So on to the next stop. So we decided to stop in Eric, Oklahoma. We're actually at the Sand Hills Curiosity Shop, which used to be the city meat market. We're going to take a look around and we're going to check it out and see what we got here. Just kind of looking at the building, there's all kinds of really cool signs and advertising products that don't even exist anymore. But it's just really cool to stop at some of these places. Just think of all the people that have stopped here over the past decades. It's not just a few years ago, it's been almost 100. Quite interesting. So anyways, it's pretty cool. Looks like not all the cars made it to their destination. This one here got stuck here, so pretty cool Plymouth grill. Well, here we are in Sola, Oklahoma. We're getting close to the Texas state line, and as we go through town, you see a lot of these old filling stations. You got to think back then you'd have to make sure you stop at all these small towns because you didn't have a 25 or 30 gallon tank, and you didn't get 40 miles per gallon. You got 15 or maybe 20 if you were lucky, but usually 10, 12 or 15. So these little filling stations were a lifesaver. It could be a long distance between each of the small towns, and it's just really kind of sad to see them as you go through these towns, and that's all that's left of it. It's interesting and it's also sad at the same time, but anyways, we'll continue on down the road and see what other kind of cool attractions we come across. Thought you guys might just want to see the old filling station in Sola, Oklahoma. And here we are in Shamrock, Texas at the iconic You Drop In Cafe. This looks like a nail stuck on a map is what it's supposed to look like. This building was built in 1936 and it's changed hands, various owners over the years. It's a filling station, it's a cafe. It's no longer, you can't no longer eat here, but it's a museum, so. Okay. An old Studebaker flatbed. Beautiful grill. Beautiful.
Does it play as good as the Rolls Royce?
It does. Amazingly, it does. It's not as solid as the metal, though. As you can see, it's pretty much a museum gift shop now. It's not the cafe that it once was, but you can still at least go inside and tour it. It's not open right now. Anyways, it's cool to still see the building. Let's go take a look around a little more. So we're on this trip, we've taken Mrs. Wizard's Mercedes ML350, and can you imagine if it was broken down, having to tow it by cranking it by hand? I imagine the mechanics and tow truck guys back then had some pretty strong arms. Everything on here is hand powered. To have to get everything lifted up and set right by hand, that's what they had. I guess that's what works. But here's a really interesting thing that I guarantee you, when they built this building on Route 66 in the height of the traveling days in America, they never thought would be on this spot here at this location. Let's go take a look. A Tesla charging station on Route 66 at the You Drop In Cafe. That's really, really odd. But that's the future.
Car Wizard, there's not just one.
There's 5 or 6 of them. But it is definitely odd to see this. I didn't expect this. It's totally unexpected to see at the You Drop In Cafe in Shamrock, Texas. Well, now we're standing just outside of Jericho, Texas. We're not too far from it. This is an area called the Jarrod Cove Gap. It was a section of Route 66 that was actually unpaved. It was never paved, and it was disastrous. It would be like the rains we've been having lately. As you can see, it's muddy, all muddy and nasty looking. Cars would literally get stranded and trapped for days in this section of Route 66. It was 18 miles long, and most of it's on private property today. You can't just go drive it, and especially with the weather like it is, you don't want to go drive it. But you imagine you're on a long road trip with your family, and you've got to be where you're going to be here within the next hours or days or whatever it be, and you come across this. It doesn't look very inviting. So you say, well, let's just take a different road. We can bypass this and take the interstate. This is the interstate. This is what you have. And if you go north or south of here, more dirt roads back then. So you just kind of had to go for it, I guess. So and here we are, merely just 20 miles down the road in Groom, Texas. You know, back in the day when you have these little towns along the way on Route 66, you would try to do things to grab their attention, to pull them off the road, to come in for some food, to come in to spend their money at your store. And behind me you see a tower, a water tower. It looks like it's about to fall over. That's on purpose, and it's been on purpose ever since it was placed here by a guy. His last name was Britton. He bought an old water tower, drug it all the way to this location, and purposely tilted it on its axis and mounted it that way. He had a truck stop here, and his sales were kind of slow, and ever since he did this gimmick, it worked. He was raking in the dough just because of this water tower. Unfortunately, it was several years later, his truck stop burned to the ground, and everything was a loss. But the tower's still here today, and travelers go by and they see this thing like, oh, that thing's about to fall. And they've been saying that ever since the beginning. It's about to fall. On to the next attraction. Here we are in Conway, Texas at well, this isn't the Cadillac Ranch, this is the VW Bug Ranch. Slugbug Ranch, it's called. And I'm kind of torn. I like German cars, but I really like Cadillacs. And we're going to be visiting the Cadillac Ranch next, but to make a comparison, this one's kind of a small little exhibit. I don't know really much about it, but I know it's on the Route 66 list of attractions to visit. So here we are, and it's kind of odd, actually. It's kind of strange. So we just finished up at the VW Slugbug Ranch, and we spent a few days in Amarillo checking it out, and now here we are at the Cadillac Ranch. It's been pretty rainy here. As you can see, you can't even get to some of the cars to paint on them. It's a pretty neat little installation. It's off of I-40 out in the field. It was back in 1974. It was installed by 3 artists who called themselves the Ant Farm. There was a group that wanted to do something like this, and there was a millionaire in the area named Stanley Marsh III who championed that type of art expression. He decided to pay for the whole deal, and so here we have the result of it. It's supposed to signify the golden age of motoring in America. It starts at a 1949 and works its way to a 1963 Cadillac with the big fins on the edges. These things have been here for quite a while, for decades, and it's got layers and layers and layers of paint. And as you can see in the background, there's people painting them as I speak. So anyways, there it is. I made it to Cadillac Ranch, and we're going to take a look around as best as we can.
Hey, Car Wizard, which one do you like more, Cadillac Ranch or Slugbug Ranch?
I like the Cadillac Ranch. I'm a Caddy man. Hey guys, hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. We're right by the highway here, but we couldn't do this whole trip without stopping by the Big Texan. It's like the biggest, hugest restaurant, most iconic restaurant you can stop at. This was actually opened in 1960 by Bob Lee, and he thought he'd open a store and serve steaks and things of that nature. And it was actually not at this location originally. It was right along Route 66, but when they put in I-40 here, they moved the store, and they also used a helicopter to move the Big Texan right to its location. So, although I look like I've not missed very many meals, I'm not doing the 72-ounce free steak challenge. There's no way I can eat the whole thing. But we're definitely going to go in and have a good Car Wizard meal. Time to eat. We're about to head into a ghost town. It's actually a town of Glen Rio. It's right on the border of Texas and New Mexico. They actually have a dispute on portions of it that exist in New Mexico. As we're traveling on the original Route 66, there's this little motel cafe. This would have been a filling station. It also could have been a place you could stay overnight, and a place you could get something to eat on your travels. It would have been these little stations like this every so often, and that was it. There was little towns here or there, but there was no big cities or anything until you got to them. In between the big cities, this is what you had. These are oases. When those towns were flourishing, Route 66 were their artery. That was their lifeblood. That was what kept them alive. But they moved the highway. They changed it to I-40 and did away with Route 66, and that killed the town. And as we move forward into Glen Rio, we'll see the leftovers of it. It's kind of sad. It just totally decimated the town, all because they moved a highway. Okay, well now we're into the little town of Glen Rio, and as you can see through the kind of desert landscape, yucca plants and things, you can see right off in the distance is I-40. It's not like they moved the highway 40 miles away. It's literally invisible. You could shout at someone, they could probably hear you. It's way over there. Just that small distance, and this is the end result. Total decimation of a town. Look at all the commerce that's going on the highway that could come through here, but doesn't anymore. And as you look down the highway, looks like a lonely desert highway, all because they moved it a little distance. It's kind of sad and it's kind of interesting at the same point, but that's why we're here. Not necessarily talking about cars in this little wizard episode. We're talking about the lifeblood of the cars, the highway. Without these highways, the cars would be useless, and this was the original highway, so. Well, this would be the end of our travels. We made it to Amarillo, and we thought, why not just go to Tucumcari? It's just down the road. That's where all the iconic hotels of Route 66, the Blue Swallow, there's the Palomino, there's the Route 66 Hotel. This place lit up at night. It's just beautiful with neon, the old 50s and 60s neon. The Motel Safari has a camel on top of it. My favorite is the Blue Swallow. It just has a beautiful artwork. The sign on it is very awesome. This would have been about halfway through from Chicago to Santa Monica. You'd have quite a bit of a drive yet to get to California, but this is one of the iconic places for all the hotels. You see pictures of Route 66. At this hotel, there's actually, you can rent rooms that have a small garage to park into. The furniture, everything is authentic 1950s and 60s. It's a really cool hotel. Well, it won't be long. I'll be back working on cars and checking out cars, but I thought you guys could follow along on our little trip, and this is the end of our road as far as Route 66. Covered some of the Midwest sections of Route 66. So thanks for watching, and hit the subscribe button.